Well, Geoffrey Boot joins me now, standing in Glenfaba, and here, of course, again, in the sense that, this is your third time of looking to get electorate's vote.
It will be the third time. I stood in 2006 and 2011 and narrowly missed it last time.
And that was close, but
it was close.
You've not been put off then?
No. The opportunity is still there. I've still got the ambition to do the job, and this time I hope I will be able to persuade people to vote for me, albeit for a very short period of time before the next general election, when we have a combined constituency with Peel.
So why do you want to do this so much?
I've been interested in politics since I was in my early 20s, and I've been involved in a lot of regulatory and legislative stuff, particularly in the aviation world. I've also built a number of businesses, and I think business skills are sort of very similar to political skills. People skills, dealing with the public, delivering what the customer wants, and generally paying attention to detail. I don't want to use the old cliches, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to. I want to give something back, and I think I can make a difference. Well, I hope I can, and time will tell.
How do you gauge the government then that we've got now? Will you be working with them? Are you against them?
I'm not against them. I think there's some good things in government at the moment, and there are some bad things. I think all governments tend to have, some successes and some failures. We've had hard times since the VAT bombshell. There's been a big reduction in revenue available, and that's had a profound effect on the way things are running at the moment.
So what's if you're on the doorstep, what would be the number one thing you'd be telling people you want to do?
Well, I think in terms of national politics, it's got to be the economy, and I think Alan Bell is correct. We need to grow the economy, and if we don't grow the economy, and particularly the private sector, we won't be able to pay for all those good things that we all want. And on the doorstep, people want a good national health service, they want good policing, they want good education, but that all costs money.
And how are you going to pay for it then?
Well, exactly. It's grow the economy.
And that's it. Not put taxes up, or
I don't want to see tax rises or massive tax rises. We can move taxation and revenue streams around. Government's already doing that by transferring services to local authorities, where we will inevitably end up paying more in rates. But if we put taxes up, and it's very tempting to say, oh yes, let's tax people more. The low tax rates on the Isle of Man to a certain extent compensate for the higher cost of living, but it also attracts a number of businesses and individuals to the island who are essential to our economy. If you put the tax rate up, and we've seen it in France and other jurisdictions, you get a peak in tax income and then a rapid drop off into a precipice, really, as people who are mobile, businesses particularly, move on to better jurisdictions.
What's your thoughts on the work permit situation and having more people come here?
Well, I think it's scaring people, and on the doorstep I hear this. People are worried, we're going to get 15,000 more people tomorrow. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we need at least 15,000 more people in the workforce, and maybe some of those will come from the public sector as they transfer over, but some will inevitably come from other jurisdictions, which is inevitable, I guess, but it would be better if we could retain some of our young people. Sadly, a lot of people go to university and college and don't come back for 20 or 30 years, and there may be mechanisms to do that. But yes, we are going to need more people. I certainly talked to quite a few business people. They are having trouble recruiting qualified staff. The work permit system is good. It needs maybe revising or relaxing a little.
They are relaxing. Well, that's the plans to relax.
Well, yes,
you're for that.
I don't disagree with that if we are attracting the right people, and people have genuinely tried to find people on island.
And what about the increased population? That's part of this plan.
Well, that is always a question. I mean, some people don't want to see an increase in population, but I remember when I first came here, the population was about 65,000. The infrastructure has improved. And we're now, I think, around 85,000, and we are coping. I don't want to overwhelm the infrastructure, but we need more people paying tax. If we don't get those people, we're not going to be able to pay for government that we want. So there has to be an accommodation. I think perhaps the wording is wrong when it says 15,000 more people. What we need is 15,000 more workers, and where they come from, as I said earlier, depends.
Local issues, what's you finding on the doorstep?
Well, I'm a commissioner at the moment, so I get the full gambit.
Is it roads?
Roads, yes, and I'm on the Highways Management Committee in the West, and I have to say highways are fairly responsive if they are targeted in the right way. But there's a whole gambit of issues, but speed and roads are definitely one. I was in Lower Foxdale, or near the Hope last night, and they were complaining there about speed of traffic. They're enforcement issues, and that relates to police resource as well.
Do you see yourself as being involved in nationals as well as local? I mean, what would you like to do? Have you got something in mind if you got in that you would particularly fancy a job in?
I think that if you're an MHK, you have to be involved in national and local issues. They are one and the same thing. If you don't service your local electorate and lose contact with them, then you won't get elected, and you can't then tackle the national issues. And there are a lot of national issues, and I would really like to be involved in that process.
Because from your list, tourism you've marked here, which you want to increase. Now, surely, is there any easy way? I mean, do you see yourself being in a position to be able to add to that?
Well, tourism is one of those question mark subjects. We've cut budgets in promotion over the years, and at the same time we've seen a quality increase in the accommodation that's available in restaurants, etc., and facilities. TT and Manx Grand Prix weeks do well, and I have to say the tourist department does well in terms of promoting with the resource they have. But nearly everyone that I know that comes to the Isle of Man, and we have a lot of guest visitors, they come here and they say, wow, this is an incredible place. We've never been here before. Why don't we hear more about it? Because you've got a whole country in 32 miles and about 12 miles wide. You don't have to drive for miles to get to another attraction. It's all here.
So, any ideas to help it? Just more advertising, or
well, I think
better?
It's better promotion is what we need. We've also got problems with our transport links in terms of cost. The steam packet is not the cheapest ferry service in the world. EasyJet, on the other hand, whilst I don't like them in some ways, there's been a reduction in services since Flybe left the route, but they are selling seats at very low budget costs, and every time I go backwards and forwards, I see people on there and I ask them what they're doing, and a lot are coming over that wouldn't have come over if the fares were more expensive.
I mean, you're a pilot as such, aren't you? So you probably have an interest in that sort of thing. Let me ask you though, do you think that the government and its cutbacks, for instance, and the way it's been trimming its budget itself, is that been something you would agree with, the way it's cut the amount of people working in government?
I think it's had to happen, basically. I think when we had the good times, the bureaucracy grew. It's inevitable when there's a lot of money around, departments mushroom, as it were, and I think they've taken some sensible decisions. A lot has actually gone on under the radar that we don't know about. When I talk to public sector employees, there's a lot been going on that I don't know about and I haven't read about. But we've got to rationalise, and we've got to move people from public service sector jobs into the private sector.
So how do you sum the government up? Would you think they've done a good job? I mean, you support them in that sense?
I think they've done a reasonable job given the tools and circumstances that they have. I think they're on the right trajectory, and I think we need to promote the island more. We need to attract more business and investment.
Now, you're a businessman. What were you going to do if you got in? Because you're busy as you is. Would you see this as a full-time job, or would you work in amongst your other jobs?
That's a good question. It's one that people ask me on the doorstep. Yes, I am busy. At the moment, I sit on, I think, 15 different boards and committees. A lot of that is across, but that is 10 less than before the last election. But I have already put in place replacements on most of the boards and committees that I sit on. I'm not one of these people that will occupy a board position just because I want to be there. Some of these organisations I work with, I've been there 15 or 20 years. It's time for new blood there, time for me to move on. So my commitment to the electorate is, if they elect me, it will become my 100%, well, 100%, but it will be my main career option.
And such a small time scale to get anything done. Do you see yourself being able to make your mark?
I would be lying if I said I'm going to go in there and make a huge difference. The policy and direction of the government is already set. We're running into a grandstanding period where people are going to want to promote themselves for the next election. The most I think I'm going to achieve is build some bridges with existing members, find out how government works, and prepare myself for the next general election, where if I do get elected, I'll have a 5-year mandate, and that will enable me to do something more positive.
I suppose you got in then, would you do a 5 years, or would you also be willing to go up to be an MLC, or would you stick with that?
MLC's not on my career options at the moment. Let's get the MHK bit out of the way. But at the end of the day, I think the way MLCs are elected needs some revisiting in view of what's happened recently. My option why I'm standing is I want to become an MHK.